And after a whole week off, what is up, Zan? Welcome back, everybody, to the Esports Rewind podcast.
You know what, Jake? Is this the first podcast that we've actually missed?
Oh my gosh.
I think it might be.
It is. Since the dawn of time, 70 plus episodes ago, we actually did take a week off for Thanksgiving over here in America. It was a nice break.
Yeah.
Glad to be back, and certainly things have not stopped happening.
Oh, absolutely. That's what makes stepping away just for a couple days so stressful every time, because you come back and it's just like a tidal wave.
Yeah, it just never stops. So we hope you guys all enjoy, as per usual, the Esports Rewind podcast. Plenty of crazy stories. You want to kick it?
Yeah, by all means. Let's do it, my guy.
Let's run it. Hope you guys all enjoy. And this first one, Zan, is one that I'm probably going to try and hold myself back for, but I probably will talk about in the future. A hoax, a sham, a really, really sketchy situation involving a Hollywood-based esports team or gaming organ. No one knows exactly what they are, and I think you know exactly who I'm talking about.
Yeah.
That being the supposed Team 33. In case you guys have not heard about these people, I think it was actually over a month ago we first heard wind of maybe this Hollywood/LA-based esports team coming to fruition. They have tons of names supposedly tied to their team, what they call guests, and they show their facility, which is just a mansion and like recording studio.
Yeah, which is weird.
And if you go to their website, you have no idea exactly what their goals are. And then that's the last we heard of it until this past week, where we heard their first ever signing to be an 8-year-old Fortnite pro with a signing bonus of $33,000. I don't know if you saw the picture of the watch he was wearing.
Yeah.
How do you pronounce? Do you know how to pronounce it?
I'm not a watch guy.
Me either.
That's like a gap in my knowledge.
I don't want to offend you guys, but it's like a Ricard Millie or Mille.
Yeah, something like that.
Something fancy, which could be tens, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars for a watch.
Very nice watch.
They talk about his $5,000 setup, and I mean, it gets even sketchier because he's 8 years old, and nobody, by the way, have talked to a couple Fortnite pros or people in the scene. Nobody knows who the kid is. So, Zan, I quite frankly have no idea what's going on.
It's just so weird that it's a sketchy situation layered on top of a sketchy situation that just, it could be cleared up relatively easily. And I think that's why people are so confused, because all it would really take is a couple statements from the org. Like, hey, here's who we are. Here's what we're trying to do in the space. You know, we're not just, I don't know, a random Ponzi scheme or something like that.
I have so many issues, man. First of all, it seems like an obvious publicity stunt for a couple of reasons. A few, actually. Nobody knows who this kid is. He was not being sought after by other organizations, not to mention he's 8 years old. Most sites won't allow you to stream unless you got a parent there every second. He cannot compete. And also a $33,000 signing bonus for Team 33. It seems like it was almost made to make headlines, and unfortunately we fall into that because I have to talk about this stuff.
100%. Yeah, this is exactly the type of thing that you would love to show investors and be like, look at all this buzz we've got going around our brand and the interesting things that we're doing.
And they had some bigger names, obviously bigger than us, even from the the entertainment realm, actually talk about this same story. Ironically so, you mentioned them making statements. You go to their website, click on all their social media, it simply just brings you back to the website.
Which, hey, web design is hard. Hyperlinks are very difficult, Jake.
When you search Team 33 Esports, Team 33 Gaming, the only thing you'll find is this goddamn website.
Yeah.
So I don't want to get pissed off at the young 8-year-old kid, okay? But
I'll say on that real quick, that's too young to be involved in this level of esports.
Yeah.
Personally, I don't.
People think he might be a son of one of the investors or someone tied to the team, which, I mean, yes, could be likely, honestly.
Definitely.
And I don't want to ridicule the kid. I do want to ridicule the team, though. We're going to see what comes of this, guys, and what does happen, and I'm sure we'll talk more about it in the future.
Speaking of weird situations that have raised some eyebrows in the past couple days, I'd love to talk to you for 2 seconds about Riot's recent decision to limit co-streaming Valorant First Strike.
Oh no, you did
only
tap into this.
Myth and Ninja.
Hit me with it. It's an interesting call.
Yeah, definitely.
I will give you that.
One way to put it.
And certainly, it seems on the podcast you always bring up the Riot Games Valorant choices. This one is definitely one that provoked at least a few streamers and certainly community members, as Myth and Ninja were the only ones allowed to co-stream upcoming Valorant events. Correct?
Yeah, this is after the qualifiers for First Strike have already occurred. Amazing qualifiers. I think the tournament so far has been fairly successful.
Very, very entertaining.
I've enjoyed it quite a bit. But the thing is, qualifiers, other people were allowed to co-stream. People assumed it would be the same situation as we move into like the finals and the tournament wraps up. Yeah. And unfortunately, Riot just confirmed that no, technically Myth and Ninja are the only ones exclusively allowed to co-stream these upcoming First Strike events. Like you said, this generated a lot of confusion from other streamers out there. We had people like Mo being like, Riot, is this for real?
Yeah.
We had, some people like UltraLex, I believe is his name, even saying that they were going to co-stream regardless.
And I think I saw a lot of streamers just questioning, okay, what are the actual rules? Like, can they only co-stream? And so far, it seems that is the case.
Yeah. Riot didn't say anything specific, like, hey, we're banning anybody who does co-stream as well, or we're seeking some kind of action against your Twitch channel.
Because this got traction from other news sites, not necessarily a Valorant update or, Valorant themselves announcing. So it is a bit up in the air as to what exactly is going to be done.
It would be nice if Riot could just say real quick, hey, this is exactly how this works, because you don't really see companies do that too often.
No.
Where they say like, okay, obviously Ninja's been big in Valorant since the game launched, as has Myth. I think if you had to pick two big personalities in the scene, those are great choices, pretty good picks. But we also saw a lot of people just saying like, why are those the only two options? Because realistically speaking, and I do see both sides of this, where Ninja certainly isn't everybody's cup of tea. He's a polarizing figure in the scene. I think he's not for everybody, but no streamer really is.
The same goes for Myth.
Yeah, exactly.
He's been known as Coach Myth. He's also tied more directly to an organization, TSM,
an organization that's competing.
Yes,
and so people are worried about It's
obviously he'll naturally be biased.
Yeah.
And yes, it's a joke stream. He'll make these jokes. I think they're both actually very entertaining figures.
Right.
I think from my perspective, most esports don't even allow co-streams to begin with. We have Fortnite, we have League of Legends, a little bit here and there, but usually it is pretty limited even for League of Legends. So I want to just say, very, very early on in Valorant still, I would say these are great choices. I think they should expand the list to include a lot more streamers. I don't know about the general public, because then you take away from your main broadcast too much.
Exactly.
And that becomes an interference with sponsorships and partnerships that they try and line up for the league. So this has always been a complicated topic. It's just whenever you throw Ninja's name in the pot, it brings a lot more haters than expected.
Yeah, absolutely.
And of course, the way they started it, including everybody, and now to narrow that list down.
Yeah, and not being clear exactly about why they made this decision. Because I think if you think about it logically, right, from an analytics perspective, there's a whole school of thought that says, hey, if you have a couple streams, like let's say 3 in this case, that all have pretty big viewership numbers, new people are going to be more likely to click on one of those than they would be to get involved at all if they just saw like 50 different First Strike streams. They wouldn't know where to go. So that it does make sense from that perspective. I do think I would have appreciated like some kind of an olive branch to the community, like allowing some other beloved streamers who might be smaller personalities, but will probably still give a lot of like really good commentary over the event. Allow them to co-stream as well. But I suppose we'll only see what this does for the future. I'm sure First Strike is going to still be amazingly successful. These streams are going to do like big numbers.
They should do very well, and I don't think it's that big of an issue.
Not aggressively.
But so far we've seen Riot Games and Valorant be very transparent and respond pretty timely. Last time we talked about an update mid-event, they responded in a few hours. So I would expect the same here, and we'll see going forward what streamers are allowed and what streamers are not. I'm sure a solution will be found eventually.
Yeah, here's hoping that Riot doesn't actually ban these people who are going to co-stream anyway.
That'll
be
very
a interesting.
Nightmare.
Yeah, so we'll be keeping an eye on the situation.
And some big news and controversy this past week in the Counter-Strike scene, something we've actually seen a few times for all you listeners out there or viewers. It's been kind of an interesting year, to say the very least, for North American CSGO, which certainly has been struggling with the rise of Valorant. We've seen many North American players make the switch, and some North American teams even leave Counter-Strike entirely. And then we have the coach spectating bug. We have the match-fixing scandal set to be released. And on top of all of that, unfortunately, ESIC, the Esports Integrity Coalition, this past week also responded on a stream sniping instance that we have seen and what they are calling a widespread problem throughout this year of online CSGO. It was a very interesting ruling, though, Zan, because unfortunately, it seems that so many players, teams, and coaches potentially could have been incriminated of stream sniping during these online events. They decided to not issue any punishments up to now, and going forward, there will be a zero-tolerance policy of what they note this would actually hurt the CSGO scene, particularly the Tier 1 scene. So no punishments for now. Of course, going forward, there will be. We've already had teams make apologies like MIBR, but it's just... It's a shifty and a dodgy year for CSGO.
Yeah, it's been a bad year all around for a lot of esports scenes, unfortunately, especially with COVID really derailing a lot of really big plans that people had in the works for 2020.
Yeah.
And, obviously, this decision is going to be highly controversial because people don't love to see
people get away with things.
Yeah. But I mean, realistically speaking, this is a situation where they have no other choice. Do you want NA CSGO to be dead because they punish so many people and it hurts so many orgs that they force more orgs out of the scene, more pros go to Valorant, stuff like that? Or do you want to maybe, hey, make everybody aware that, hey, we saw what you did, we know about it, and going forward it's not at all going to be allowed.
I think the common public wants maybe some justice, right? At least to know who, with beyond a reasonable doubt. Is that the correct line?
Yeah.
Who is actually has some serious evidence against them, right?
Yeah.
Actually put their name out there, put their name on the line. But I do understand the flip side. If it's going to hurt the scene so much so, you're put in a weird box. I think I saw another response out there. The ESIC is a very small coalition.
Right.
And so to have the resources and the time and the actual staff to go fully into depth of all of these accusations, which on the surface can seem very, very, guilty, they simply don't have the time with everything on their plate right now.
Yeah, of course.
Of what we have been told from direct sources, they have been flooded with accusations. And it's not just Counter-Strike. These guys got so much on their plate. Unfortunately, it's going to come to a time like this where they're like, hey, zero tolerance going forward. We know what's happening. And so hopefully teams can say, okay, they know. Let's not do that anymore. I think overall, it just sucks to see adults out there who are trying to gain advantages every which way.
Yeah, I think unfortunately that's kind of what we see with the gaming industry a lot of the time. Just because there's so little.
Yeah, every scene.
We're still so new as an industry. And there's so little regulation for situations like this, and there's so little oversight. I mean, heck, the ESIC, they've only really been this bullish and straightforward with punishments like on this level recently.
Especially this year, I would say primarily. I don't know, man.
Yeah, it's a rough time. I mean, hopefully they've all learned their lesson and they got they got their hand in the cookie jar. Yeah. They got a couple cookies.
Now stop taking cookies.
Now the cookie jar's been put on the highest shelf possible, out of reach.
We're gonna see what lengths are gonna start reaching.
Yeah, people are gonna get ladders out. But here's hoping CSGO can recover in 2020. Here's hoping we don't see too many issues like this in the future. Here's hoping teams are on top of their people, having them be respectful of the game.
100%.
Alrighty, so I kind of wanted to do something a little different for my last topic and make it 2 topics.
That's an interesting curveball.
Yeah, it's a twist. I don't think we've really done that too often.
No, we usually stick to our regimen 4 to 5.
Yeah. But, these are both kind of, I wouldn't say they're the biggest stories individually, but I think they're both kind of important. They're huge acquisitions in the past week, or announcements of acquisitions in the esports and gaming space. We had Microsoft acquiring SmashGG.
Yes.
That is news that a lot hasn't got discussed as publicly as I think it could in different situations, just because it's not on the surface level, it's not the spiciest bit of news,
I will quickly say to our audience members, a lot of people sent me this one, and it sucks that we can't cover everything because, unfortunately, it's not our bread and butter. It's obviously gigantic, right? You can imagine Microsoft acquiring any other, if they were tied to, I would say, a bigger esports scene. It's still big news, but we still struggle in covering that kind of news.
Right.
So I think it's super cool if you want to give the details. Sorry we couldn't cover it exactly.
No, that's part of the reason I love the podcast.
Yeah,
it gives us the opportunity to
expand
talk
on these things.
Yeah. So basically, SmashGG, for those who are unaware, is basically like a tournament hosting platform. It's open to the public, and it's used by a bunch of big names in the scene, in the industry. Evo uses it for registration. Chipotle uses it for events. I think we've also got, CEO, a bunch of different scenes out there that really depend and thrive on SmashGG. And I think this is an excellent move for Microsoft because I'd say out of the major game developers, game console creators out there, Microsoft is in, I'd say, the weaker position when it comes to their esports representation. I think when it comes to cross-platform games, PlayStation is usually the go-to over Xbox. Outside of stuff like, of course, Gears and Halo that are exclusive to the Xbox.
Yeah.
And, they've always said they want to be more involved in esports, but they struggled to really, get their foot in the door solidly. You know? And I think this is an excellent way for them to kind of expand their brand, expand their reach, and really show that they're dedicated to the future of esports and integrating that into their console and their ecosystem going forward.
Yeah, and I think it's always cool to see these acquisitions because it also gives hope to anyone out there developing these new things, whether it be esports talk, a slowly growing news platform, right? I think we saw a long time ago HLTV from the CSGO scene, a news outlet as well. Again, not the same as Smash, but it gives you hope hope to see these companies being invested into, and especially for all those young entrepreneurs or aspiring people in the gaming esports scene to see that they can actually make this work and eventually one day get that payoff.
Right.
I think it gives hope and lends hope to people to keep these things growing. So huge congrats to Smash, and of course Microsoft continue to extend into esports and gaming. Your second part of the story is the one I think I'm actually more interested in we still couldn't cover.
Yeah, this one highly controversial.
I think the title, this is about the
this is
prince?
about the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia, Mohammed bin Salman. I believe I'm pronouncing that correctly.
Wait, it's him?
Yeah, it's him.
Wait.
Yeah, it's him.
Oh my! I should have done research before this. Correct me if I'm wrong here. This is the same guy who is tied to the LEC sponsor and the Blast.
Exactly. The exact same guy, that same Crown Prince.
Do you remember the name of that?
That was the Neom deal.
Neom.
That was that. Yeah, like NEOM.
Yes.
Yeah, they were essentially going to be the title sponsor for the LEC.
Yes, and of course Blast Premier as well. And I believe both actually backed out of that partnership due to backlash.
I think so.
With this man. Sorry for interrupting. I just want to clarify
good.
For people listening. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Oh.
It's unfortunately he has a very clear motive here, right? He's engaging in something that a lot of people call sports washing. Have you heard that term?
No.
Basically, what sports washing is grabbing something that people like, right? Like a game company or an event, and putting your name on it so that people associate, hey, I like that good thing, and so it raises the reputation of the thing. That reputation is a little bit lower, in this case, Saudi Arabia, due to their past decisions.
That is... Yeah. Because that's why Neom is supposed to be this gaming utopia in Saudi Arabia, obviously backed by maybe a few hands tied to controversial things like his own.
Yeah, in particular, a lot of people take issue with their stance on homosexuality and the LGBTQ plus community.
I will say, if you do further research, there might be some other crimes involved.
Yeah, a lot of allegations, not a lot of things hard confirmed.
Allegations.
Yeah.
Involving the taking of life, but
it's a lot is general. There's a reason the reputation of Saudi Arabia is not in a great place.
Let's leave it at that.
Yeah,
and so he continues to sports wash.
Yeah, sports washing. Yeah,
and with this new acquisition, correct?
Yeah,
this one obviously working, unlike Neom with the LEC and Blast.
We really don't know yet. So basically, the company they've bought a controlling stake in, or they're going to eventually, as dictated by their agreement with this company. They're known as SNK. They're primarily a fighting game developer, I would say, and they're kind of a more niche developer. I'd say they have like a couple games, but nothing nearly at the level of like Street Fighter. You know, if you guys are familiar, they do Samurai Showdown, King of Fighters, Garou, Mark of the Wolves, stuff like that. You know, all like niche titles. And backlash has been rather immense, but I don't think we're going to see the same type of situation where this deal gets backed out of, because there's too much money already in the pot.
Yeah.
Acquiring a controlling stake of the company essentially, you know, kind of puts the company in a difficult spot, even if they want it to back out. And it's hard to say what this is going to do. In a lot of ways, I'm concerned this might kill this company, because, like I said, they're kind of a niche option when it comes to fighting games.
Yeah.
And their games do okay recently, but they're certainly not bangers. And I think this is going to push a lot of the people who love to play those games away from this company, because realistically speaking, it's hard to ignore the direct ties to, this company is supported by a group of individuals who've made several highly problematic alleged decisions in the past.
Yeah, and we don't know the figures of the money tied to these deals. Obviously, with the LEC, they're going to do just fine without probably the money.
Right.
That's why LEC, I think, took a matter of not long at all to really clear out of this, because they got a good future. That's a great team over there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Blast Premier took a lot longer. You got to imagine that money probably has a lot more impact in a scene that's not been known for profitability. Who knows what kind of money was on the table that they eventually, due to realizing, we're not going to survive if we do this.
Yeah, right.
Potentially. And I wonder what the amount here is, because if you are SNK and you're like, this is a lot of money, maybe even worth not having a prolonged future for, I do feel for that aspect. I just don't know the details enough, but it's clearly an issue to see that this is continuing to be a potential sports wash. And it's interesting to see that the companies they are choosing to try and go after.
Yeah, absolutely. This arrangement in particular was kind of, a lot of people didn't catch it initially, because because it was done through a subsidiary. Like, so it wasn't like the Crown Prince and walk up with a check and go, hey, I'm Crown Prince, I'm buying it. Went through a couple different companies and then eventually back to his charity and then eventually, oh, hey, he owns.
It's me.
Yeah. Hey, guys. Mohammed here.
But I mean, it's obviously a crazy topic that I think is very niche even on our channel. So I don't think we'll hear too much from it.
I think what I'm worried about more so in the future is that they're going to continue doing this with other companies in the space. I don't think we have to worry about like Riot or anything like that running into future issues, but I would not be at all surprised if smaller game developers eventually start getting bought up by Saudi Arabia as they realize, hey, this is.
And if it does, we'll have backing to keep on talking about it. So we'll see what the Crown Prince does next. And very lastly, Zan, I keep on telling you every day I see how fragile I am of a human being. Just this past week, we found out about a Twitch streamer, unfortunately so, by the name of Jay, who actually underwent something that I really cannot imagine. Clips out there, seemingly, it was actually him live streaming early in the morning, and then a break-in occurred at his apartment of what he calls multiple people, potentially 3, at least one with a machete, another with a knife, with a gun, I should say, which is all the more terrifying.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, so when you hear these clips, we had a video on this, just terrifying to hear the fact that during these clips, he actually at one point was seemingly begging for his life, and so thankful that we didn't have to cover a separate story of what could have been so much more severe. He does, of course, eventually come back on camera to say he could not call the cops. They took his phone, and it was 3 men who just broke into his apartment. So if he were to call the cops right away, who knows if they're going to come back.
Right.
It just leaves me wondering what I would do in this situation. Luckily enough, unharmed. And was okay. Just
huge relief hearing that. You know, this situation could have gone south so easily, and I just think it's insane that stuff like this continues to happen live on stream and will continue to do so as the industry continues to grow, as more people are streaming more of their day, and hopefully, I mean, I don't know if there's anything that can really be done in situations like this, but hopefully there's some way for eventually down the line for potentially viewers to help in a situation like this. Like, hey, his phone was taken. Maybe there would have been a way in the future for viewers to get in contact with the police on his behalf or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. We've seen, unfortunately, prior instances with gamers out there. There was actually the FaZe Agony twins. At one point, they had an armed robbery as well, and one of them did not have I don't believe had his phone, but had his PC in his room, took to Discord to actually, contact some viewers to say, hey, help, like, I'm in this situation. So, hopefully things like that in the future, continue to actually try and help these situations, but it's just crazy to know that these situations do happen, and it's almost all the more terrifying they can happen and now be watched live by viewers.
Right.
Luckily enough, though, everyone was okay in this situation. As per usual, we hope you guys all enjoy the Esports Rewind podcast. It is good to be back. We will not miss another week for the next year, seemingly based on our track history together.
Yeah,
so
I'd say that's pretty likely.
70 plus in a row. We'll be seeing you guys for 70 plus more. We hope so in the future. Zan, want to hit him with that classic outro?
Yeah. Thank you everybody for tuning in. As per usual, if you would like to listen to us, the Esports Rewind podcast, on the go, on your phone, really, anywhere at all, you can find us as part of the Prediction Esports Talk Show Network. That's PREEDICTION. We're on iTunes, Spotify, basically wherever you like to enjoy your podcast. Go download an episode and support us out there. It really does mean the world to us. Thank you to all of our audio listeners who've been tuning in. It really does mean a lot that we've got that audience there as well supporting us. If you want some daily esports news content, by all means, swing through Esports Talk on YouTube or esportstalk.com for some of our coverage of stories we don't necessarily get to touch on the channel. Like, for example, the SmashGG thing, As well, we also have a Twitter at @talk_esports. DMs are always open, so by all means, feel free to reach out.
Yeah.
We really do appreciate the messages we get from people. Yeah. It does mean the world to us. And, just quick general update. Search for a new content creator is going well, I'd say. We should be making some definitive progress on that, but before the end of the year, and hopefully we'll have a new face to introduce to you all very soon.
Heck yeah, it's going to be a wild. It's already been a wild year.
Yeah.
Hopefully 2021 is a bit better, but just as crazy. We will see you guys back here same time, same day, every single week here at the Esports Rewind podcast. Y'all know what to do. All right, take care, gamers.